Welcome back to another episode of the Offsides Zone. This is season 2, episode 2. We got ourselves Cliff in the building, Oswald in the building, Sam in the building, and your host for tonight, Toby. So let's just get it started with the first question. Uh, we got Jude Bellingham playing lights out right now. And the first question we have is with his rising star performances and basically being a superhero for Real Madrid, could Jude Bellingham potentially become England's greatest player ever? And we're going to let Cliff start off with this one.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Because when you really take into account, the greatest players in England, it's really only Wayne Rooney and Bobby Charlton standing in his way, right? Because what other players have had the career start that he's had, right? You have a player that's playing 20 at Real Madrid. Let's even count all the players that have played at Real Madrid that have been English. You have David Beckham, um, uh, Michael Owen, and who else? Who else notably has played there? Really, I mean, it's
McNamara.
Notable.
Yeah, notable.
He was a great servant for Real Madrid. He was a great servant for Real Madrid.
So really, what you really want to count is at this point, how many trophies are they going to win? Right? You have the Champions League and the World Cup. That's really all you got to win. So him playing at Real Madrid alone, he's going to win multiple Champions Leagues. All he has to do is bring home one World Cup, and that's it. And he's going to be among the greatest. And if he has a good probably 15 years, if he plays until he's 35, probably goes from Real Madrid to another big club, and stays at that top level for a good 10, 15 years, he's there. Who else is there? So, and I think those are within his range of outcomes. I'm giving him like a 20% chance, which is a good chance, of him being the best English player ever.
Okay. Oswald, what would you like to say about that?
At this rate, if he keeps up his form right now, the way he's playing this season, I genuinely believe that he could go down as England's greatest player of all time. Most players that come play at the highest level, players like your Rooney, like you mentioned, Bobby Charlton, like you mentioned, playing at the highest level, it doesn't get any bigger than Real Madrid in the world. We all know that for a fact. So if he keeps up playing at the same level that he's playing with Madrid, nothing can stop him. Nothing can really stop him. That's the honest truth. Like, he's been performing 8 goals in 9 matches and 2 assists as a midfielder. That is insane stats for any player at that. Even Messi or Ronaldo, even though they outdid it, but it's still insane stats for a world-class player. At 20 years old, how many players can you say really hit the peak of world class at 20? There's maybe 10 to 20 max ever of all time. So he's already hit that level of world class. So nothing can really stop him right now. All he has to do is just keep playing as he's playing, get some trophies into his locker, and he's on his way to be the greatest player for England of all time. So that's it.
Crazy. Sam, go ahead.
Yeah. As far as Jude Bellingham goes, I would say he definitely has a chance just based on how he started his career. Obviously, he's a young player that's walked into Real Madrid, one of the biggest clubs in world football, and he's playing lights out. Like, he's probably been their best player this season. So, like, to Oswald's point, if he maintains the consistency in performances like this, which I personally don't see happening, but if he were to continue this form for Real Madrid, I don't see why he wouldn't become England's greatest player ever at some point, because obviously at Real Madrid, he has the platform to get global recognition, win loads of titles, get tons of awards and accolades. So he's already in the perfect environment to succeed. So if he just maintains the form that he's been playing with at Real Madrid since his start to the at the team, I mean, I don't see why not. Like, he's one of the only players that you can say, as a young player, went into a mega club and actually started showing out. Not every player does that. Not every player does that. Some players fall off or they have a slow start or something like that. At 20 years old at Real Madrid, you don't see that a lot. So I would say he has a chance. But one question I would ask is, do you see him becoming the best player on the England national team at some point? Because if he's not the best player on the England national team, I can't say he's the best English player ever. And if he's not the best player on Real Madrid, I can't say he's the best player if he's not the best player at his club. So, like, you have to, at some point, because Rooney was the best player for Manchester United for years, and they won titles, you know. So he was the best player for England, and I mean, they didn't win titles, but, you know, Jude Bellingham has to show that he can become the best player on his national team and at club level, to me, in order to be the greatest English player of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really have the same sentiments. I actually have to bring everybody back down to earth. I think everybody's living in the skies with Jude Bellingham's fans right now, because there is no way that we are just going to shelf every great name that's come out of England to just give this guy that accolade so early. Now, to Sam's point, at club level, Jude Bellingham is phenomenal right now. He is on top of the world. He is that guy that is scoring them the goals and having the moments for them at the moment. But the emphasis there is the fact that it's at the moment. There's no way in hell that in the next year or 2 years, when the team is actually formulated to be how it's supposed to play, and they have their front three locked in, the transfer windows come in and they bring in people like an Mbappe, would Jude Bellingham be having this platform to go out there and score 8 goals in 9 games? It's just not happening. And I'm going to just tell you the truth. Right now, he's playing some type of makeshift shadow striker behind Vinicius and Rodrigo that's helping him be able to do what he's doing on the pitch right now. And sometimes you can even say he's basically playing striker for them. So that's why I don't ultimately think he's going to become the greatest English player ever. Because at the end of the day, Real Madrid is a star-studded club and is just a club of stars. If he's not going to be the best star at that club, can we honestly say he's the best English player ever? He's going to be sitting here trying to rival Mbappe at some point, Vinicius at some point, like all those people that come down the line. And don't even get me started with their star-studded midfield, which is Camavinga to Tchouaméni for the future, and Valverde as well. So he has a long way to go in that sense. And that's the crazy thing is that's only half of being England's greatest player. It's England. What is he going to translate that club level when it comes to the national side? And I think on the national side, I don't think he'll be given that platform because of the position that he plays to be able to outshine some of the more relevant faces that we see on the England squad right now. And that's just the truth. You have people there like Phil Foden and Bukayo Saka, to me, who I ultimately feel will eventually be the face of England. And that's because they score the goals. They have more of a platform to be that face of England. So ultimately, he might fall shy of actually being England's greatest players when at the end of the day, everything falls in line with both club and national side, just based off of his position. And he's had a great start to his career, and he has a platform right now, but will it actually last? Will it actually last?
I think he still has the chance. Because, I mean, when we're talking about the platform, what are we really talking about here? We're talking about scoring goals. So are we saying that midfielders cannot be the best players on their team at any time if they're not scoring goals? And mind you, Jude Bellingham is an attacking minded player. Like, yes, he's a midfielder, but he's always pushing to go forward. He's always looking for the forward pass, and he's always looking to score too. But even then, like saying that, you're comparing him to the likes of Vinicius, you're comparing him to Mbappe, you're comparing him to Tchouameni, to Chouameni. It's like those players are good, but just because those players are good doesn't mean Bellingham can't be better. Like when Vinicius started out at Real Madrid, a lot of even Benzema was saying, "Don't pass that man the ball," because he like his start to his Real Madrid career was not as good as it is now. So it's not only seeing how good he's starting now, but if we're projecting his talents right now into the future, adding Mbappe and seeing how much he can win to that side, the sky is the limit. And even when you bring him into England, like we've seen throughout the years that every English player that's played for Real Madrid has always had the spotlight, especially with Beckham, and you talk about the Michael Owen to Liverpool to Real Madrid, it didn't really pan out, but players that have played for Real Madrid, we understand that Manchester United has its own space in England, but Real Madrid has its own shining light. Real Madrid is a bigger club. Just the fact that he's playing for Real Madrid would give him the immediate spotlight walking into that team and being seen as the flashy player, the big name player, the star in that team, regardless of if he's scoring the goals or not. So I think he still has a chance to be the star of that team.
What I'll say to that is I personally don't even think that Jude Bellingham's game is flashy enough to the point where he would be like the headline player on a team that he's not scoring goals for. You see what I'm saying? Like if he's not scoring those goals, like he's just a player that fits into the midfield. I'm not saying like he's not good. He's still a great passer. He's still a good facilitator, and he works hard. But like his game is not flashy enough for him to get that elevated status where when he's not scoring goals or on the stat.
Please, Oswald.
Nah,
he doesn't have.
He's not.
If you're comparing him to players like a Foden and Saka, he's not going to have as many headlines as them on that England squad.
But the name alone,
the status.
Just the status of playing for Real Madrid alone would make him a bigger player than Saka.
That's cap. Because once you get to a certain hemisphere of players, right? Playing in England actually matters. We're all talking about big clubs, and though Real Madrid is up at the upper echelon of that, right? At the end of the day, your performances playing for England matters. Saka's not going to score 2 goals in a game, and they're going to write about Jude Bellingham. And that's my point. The face of England will always be most likely those attackers or those more flashy, skillful players that we see. And to my understanding, what Jude Bellingham does on that squad is very similar to what Declan Rice does. And let me finish. He's a midfield player. He's a midfield player, right? He's not there to ultimately score 10 goals in 5 games. He's ultimately there to be a center mid. Is Declan Rice not a center mid? Calm down. You have players like a whole Foden, a whole Saka, a whole possibly Marcus Rashford on the left side, and whoever the striker is going to be for the next couple years. And Harry Kane is still there, by the way. So you have all those players that you have to overcome in terms of being the face. And ultimately, that's always going to lean towards people that are scoring goals. And that's what I'm saying. You can sit here and say that Real Madrid is going to give him the spotlight on the England squad, maybe amongst the players. But what we see, when we watch games, is most likely going to be the guy that puts the ball inside the net. And ultimately, I'm sorry to tell you this, but who has the better ceiling to doing that on a consistent level? That's going to be the attackers, bro. And you can already see it now. It's Saka. You can't come and tell me that Saka at this point in time isn't one of the, or Phil Foden aren't basically being propped up to being the biggest faces of the next England squad. It's the truth.
I mean, to be fair, Bellingham is in that conversation.
He's in there. He's in there. He's in there. He's in there. But consistently coming for the next couple years, bro. All I'm saying is when the pieces are in place, right? When the pieces are in place, and you're talking about players are on form and this, even both at the club level with all the stars there, and even both at the national level with all the stars there. If Mbappe goes to Real Madrid and Mbappe is scoring all the goals, it's going to be a Mbappe versus Haaland show. It won't be a Jude Bellingham show. If we're talking about the national side and we're looking at Phil Foden play that number 10 role and he's basically assisting and dazzling, dribbling past players and scoring at the same time, and you got Saka scoring braces or Harry Kane continue to doing what he's doing, we gonna be talking about Bellingham. No, that's my point. That's my point.
I also think that it's not. I know it's gonna sound crazy, especially for the people that think England is amongst the best in one of the top countries, but it's like Bellingham doesn't have to be better than Mbappe to be the best English player of all time.
Facts.
In his team, he doesn't have to be better than Mbappe. He just has to win trophies.
No. I don't agree with that because
you don't agree with that.
He has to be better than his other England compatriots.
Yes.
He has to be better than Saka. He has to be better than Foden. You can't not be the best player of your generation.
I don't agree. I don't completely agree with that. Sometimes I think that there can be a better player on your team and you can still thrive in the same team. Like
that's not true, bro.
That's true. No, that is true. But you have to be better than your compatriots. You have to be better than your mates in your same class. If you're not the best player in this England team in this generation, how can you say that you're the best player of all time for England? That doesn't make sense.
Wait. Are you talking about England or are you talking about
Real Madrid?
About England.
No, I'm talking about England right now. I'm talking about he has to be better than Foden and Saka in the future.
I think he will be. I honestly think he will be better.
We talk about two players in Foden and Saka that are going to develop goal-scoring abilities far higher than they have right now. And when Saka starts ringing in 30, 40 goals a season, maybe, Bellingham's not going to be the face of England at that point.
You know what's crazy about this Saka thing? I think Saka right now, and I don't want to detract this whole conversation, but it's Saka is one of those players that even if he's continuing to play as well as he doesn't get that same kind of star recognition like a player. Even on Arsenal, I feel like people don't rate Saka as much as he should be because in my opinion, I think Saka is the best player on Arsenal, even better than Odegaard because he's more consistent. But
who doesn't say Saka is the best player on Arsenal?
But I feel like a lot of people rate Odegaard more than Saka. What I'm trying to say is Saka doesn't have as much star name power as much as a player like Bellingham does.
That's so cap, bro.
In my opinion.
God,
I think Bellingham has a bigger star name than Saka.
The name, yes.
Because it's just
yes. I agree
for him to
the only reason why is because the only saying you're saying that is because he's playing for Madrid.
That's the thing. I'm not saying.
We're talking about Bellingham being compared to Zinedine Zidane. What? It doesn't get any bigger than that. A lot of people comparing him.
Let's not be. We're talking about right now.
We're talking about France's greatest player of all time, right? And you're telling me if Bellingham doesn't just perform maybe up to 70% or achieve 70% of what Zidane did in his career. You're telling me that he's not
Oh
going to
my
Man,
God.
you guys aren't getting a
What
point,
is
bro.
going
You guys
on?
aren't getting a point.
I thought we were talking about England though.
I'm gonna tell you because to what Cliff said, right? That he doesn't need to be better than Mbappe. We're not even necessarily saying that he has to be better than Mbappe. We're simply saying if the pieces align, his light will be diminished based off the fact that everybody else around him are stars in itself. And that's my point.
I don't think
He
so.
might not be able to get, it's true. He might not be able to have the same platform that he has right now if the system at Real Madrid is actually situated to where it's supposed to be. If Vinicius is cooking on the wing and scoring 30 goals a season, and Mbappe comes in there and he's scoring 40 goals a season, I'm not going to
talk about Bellingham.
I'm not going to be talking about Jude Bellingham the way that I'm talking about him now. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he got to be better than Mbappe or Vinicius, but the fact that the cast at Real Madrid is so much filled with stars, it's going to dim his starlight. And that's what you're not thinking about. At a Man City, and especially at an Arsenal, and even on the national team, both Saka and Foden have more of a platform to be able to be that star, like that star in like the light. And that's my point. They score the goals, and at the end of the day, they're basically being pitched up to be the star man on their team, both at club and at national.
Those guys are like
national
I agree with you for Real Madrid. I don't agree with you for the national team.
I don't.
It's true though. They scored the goals.
Agree with you because I think that taking Saka off of Arsenal, Foden off of Man City, and Bellingham off of Real Madrid, you put them in the same room together. I think Bellingham has the highest star power in that room. Bellingham,
yeah.
Bellingham right now has the most recognition. Even if he's not
recency
the one
bias is
scoring the
crazy,
goals,
bro.
even though he's not the one consistently scoring the goals, he has the name that will.
Did he have the name last year before Real Madrid?
No, but that's the power of Real Madrid.
He had the name, but he didn't have the stardom.
Saka and Foden? Okay.
He had the name, but he didn't have the stardom compared to
forget the name, though. We're talking about who's going to be regarded as the better player.
The better player.
Like,
the question
Beckham had a better season than any England player of all time.
But it's not just about being the better. Well, you're saying better player, and Toby's saying getting the chance to score goals or
I said the platform.
The platform. Basically, you're saying that they're going to be the ones scoring goals, so Bellingham is not going to get the shine. I don't think that's true.
He's not going to get more shine than them. And he's not going to get more shine than them.
Just because
and I ultimately
he's not
don't even
scoring
think he's
the
going to be
goals
a better
doesn't
player.
mean he's not going to get the shine. I don't agree with that. And I think that because he plays for Real Madrid, because he has all these stars around him, and because he has the chance to win the Champions League almost every year, especially when Mbappe gets there, he's automatically going to be seen as the star player when he arrives in England, around players that are playing in the Arsenal and the Man City. He's going to automatically.
That doesn't translate.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. It translates to what England is.
It really does.
Even though he has the platform to win Champions League titles, he's not going to be the main guy
that's doing it.
Because he's not scoring the goals?
No, because he's not the best player. He's not going to be the best player on the team.
Why?
The most impactful player on the team.
Oh my God.
Okay,
he's gonna be like a side
character. Look. At that point, what you're really saying is that you don't rate Bellingham, or you don't rate the potential that Bellingham has, and that's really all you're saying.
No,
because if you're saying that he can never, you're literally saying that he can never be the best player on the team. He can never be better than Saka. He can never be better than Foden.
Let's not forget, he's like two.
You're saying that if he's in the same team with Foden and
younger than those other two guys,
like you're saying, he's even the same team with Foden and Saka, he'll just never be. He's not going to be the best player. Like,
but no, we're talking about no. So right now we're talking about titles, right? So we have to talk about Real Madrid, right? So we're talking about Bellingham compared to Vinicius Jr. And Mbappe. I personally do not think that he'll ever be as good as Mbappe.
I understand.
Literally, we said that.
I understand the Real Madrid argument. I said he's probably not going to be better than Mbappe. I
That's what we
concede that.
saying,
He's
and
probably
He
not
wouldn't
going to
be
be better
better
than
than
But
Mbappe.
that's what we're talking
Vinicius.
about in regards to titles and winning championships. Because if we talk about England, they're not winning anything. I mean, I'm sorry, they're a great
Okay,
winning
now we're
team.
anything
talking about
either.
something completely different. Now we're talking about England's chances of winning a trophy, and you think they won't? I think they have a pretty good chance to
I
win.
think so.
But that
They've had a great chance
They've
since
reached they've reached
1986.
the Euro
well,
finals.
okay,
So.
They've
okay,
had
we
a
could.
great chance
That's a whole
every
different
year.
argument. That's a whole different.
Look. I think we can all agree that Jude Bellingham definitely has a possibility of doing so.
Potential.
Whether he gets there or not, I think that's up to the future. But I just think ultimately time will tell, and you guys will actually see once the pieces come into play that maybe right now he's up here, but at some point you never know what happens with careers. That's all I'm saying. So off of that, we're gonna move on to the next question.
All right.
So recently we've seen a lot of crazy calls with VAR, and VAR has been in the limelight in recent times for some of the most controversial calls that we've seen. Most recent one was probably the Liverpool versus Spurs game. That man Luis Diaz was definitely onside. But ultimately, I wanted to ask, is VAR ruining football? And I'm going to let Oswald start with this one.
Ultimately, no, it's not ruining football. It's just making the game a lot more precise in terms of making calls like free kicks, offsides, penalties, just making calls. The game that happened with the Liverpool versus Spurs game, we don't know why they didn't review it, even though the person that was using the VAR said that it could be potentially offside. I don't know why the referee didn't even check and see. But overall, I don't think VAR's ruined the game. It may have ruined the euphoria of it when somebody scores, you celebrate, and then they check and see, oh, offsides or free kick. But overall, ultimately, it helps out a lot in terms of making the right calls.
Sam, what you think?
I would say the idea of VAR is a good idea and is beneficial for football, but the way it's being currently run is kind of ruining football. I think they have to make the processes that they use to come to conclusions and make decisions much more efficient than it is currently, because we still see bad calls. There's still human error. There's a lot of wasted time. Like Oz was pointing out, a lot of the euphoria of the game is being drawn out. Players barely celebrate anymore. Before they celebrate, they look at to see if they call in VAR every time. That is true. Like, the euphoria of the game is kind of dying, and it's becoming more like a American football where it's like it's very robotic a little bit. But I think if they can increase the efficiency at how they use it, then it would be more beneficial, because obviously there are some calls that if VAR wasn't there, then we would never see the truth, and it definitely reveals a lot of things that regular referees would probably not be able to see in other circumstances. But there are a lot of holes in the way they're running it right now. For instance, one thing I could point out is they don't even review corner kicks. Like, so the thing is, and you may look at that as like a small issue, but why do they determine that they can't review corner kicks, but they review other things? Like, why does it depend on what they have to choose to review for them to actually review it? Shouldn't it just review everything? Shouldn't they review any call and anything that's in question? So why is corner kicks not reviewed and everything else is reviewed? What if the wrong team? We've seen this countless times, but the wrong team kicks the ball out and they score off the corner kick. That you can't do anything about that. And according to VAR, you cannot do anything about that. That's not efficiency to me. If you want to run it correctly, they have to run it more efficiently. They have to change up the processes, and they have to make it quicker. I think they have a lot of things that they have to fix on it. I would say for now, based on how it's running, it is ruining football. But if they make it better, then it'd be good for football.
Okay, Cliff.
Nah, it's not ruining the game. It's actually helping the game a lot. Um, we've seen so many like egregious calls get overturned because of VAR. You can't really have a sport without adding some new technology. Like when there's an availability of technology, you just have to add it. The goal line issue. When they added the goal line to football, it's fast. It gets the job done. And I understand what you're saying, Sam. Like, we need something. We need a process that just speeds it up, where it's like you don't have to think twice if something's a goal. If it or but it's not something that you can just add like a goal line technology. Goal line technology, just have it. If it crosses, it stands on their watch. If not, it doesn't. But this is actually incorporating the rules. How do you know if somebody got tackled correctly? How do you know if it's actually offsides? And if you really think about it, with that Liverpool incident, the referee got it wrong on the field. VAR could not do anything to make that call worse, or VAR is never going to take a call that's correct and make it wrong. It's only based on how you see it. If somebody tackles an opponent and it's not given as a yellow card or a red card, and VAR looks at it and it's not because it objectively is or it isn't. It's just because you slowed it down. So I think VAR is helping out a lot better than it's like taking away from the game. It just has to get improved, and it's gonna happen. The more they figure out stuff like what happened with the Liverpool game, it's gonna be more improved. I think it's helping the game.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think VAR is the best thing that's ever happened to football, honestly. Like it's about time like football itself, aged in a moderate manner. And honestly, bro, VAR has never stopped people like a Richarlison from celebrating before. So like all the players that sit there and try to looking for VAR, like, bro, just celebrate. Because at the end of the day, you don't even know. Like, first off, you don't even know if somebody's holding the offsides on the other side of the field waiting for you to turn around anyway. So just celebrate, do what you want. I think people that complain about VAR, they ultimately probably had decisions against their team that's went on them. But if you're looking at it from a very unbiased manner, you're not doing any cheating like Barcelona. All I can sit here and simply say is that it's given the game a lot of justice that's needed. Like we're talking about offsides calls where teams from the past, they'll be offsides, they'll come back and score and win. You're talking about like red cards that are clear red cards once we actually get stills of and pictures of basically players basically about break another player's leg. Like objectively, VAR has done an amazing job. And I think at the end of the day, the only place you can really place blame is not even the system, it's the people. And guess who were running football before making the calls? The people. So even the situation of Liverpool and Spurs, I'm like, what are y'all talking about? Some get rid of VAR for? What did VAR do? I'm doing a 50 Cent meme because what did VAR do? It was the people in the back sitting there saying, cursing and saying, oh, damn, we messed up. We did this and that. Like not having the right communication between them while running the system. So it's always going to be a possibility for me of human error. It's just whether or not these guys can get the proper training to really master the system. Because the system is here to stay and people need to stop crying because it's better for football. That's all I need to say.
Yeah, and even another point about that Liverpool game is that even when they made the call, they did well. Even when they found out that they made a mistake, they didn't stop the game and say, "Hey, we made a mistake. We're going to reverse it." But because they want to keep the integrity of the game, and I feel like they think about in keeping the pace of the game in every decision that they make and implementing VAR, like saying like, hey, we have to review this, let's stop the game. They can make that process better, but they at least try to think that, hey, if we made a decision after VAR, if VAR has already checked it, you can't go back and recheck it or, do any foolish stuff like that, even though it would have made the right decision if when they found out that they made the wrong decision, they went back and fixed it. But
yeah, I just think there's a lot of improvement to do with VAR. There's a lot of ways they can make it better and more efficient.
Add some tech into the ball, like put some technology onto the ball. Like if I don't know.
Yeah, UEFA has that, like that semi-automated thing, and guess what that does? Get rid of the humans. That's the point. Like you can only blame the people at this point. So what is really up with people saying get rid of VAR? Like I personally don't understand that. But since we're on the topic of controversies, we might as well get into our last topic for tonight, which is with this drama-filled soap opera we call Manchester United, very much living up to their name of the theater of dreams, literally a theater. Could Erik ten Hag's time at Manchester United be over? And we're gonna let Sam start off with this one.
Just off the back, I would say that it possibly could be over because Manchester United, as everybody knows, they're about to have a Saudi or Qatari takeover, and I think based on what's going on right now, the performances, they could come in there and just revamp the whole squad, the whole staff, and everything. Just dump everything out. So I think there's a possibility that his time could be up if Manchester United gets taken over by foreign investors. But I think Erik ten Hag has been okay as Manchester United's manager. They won a title. They played well. I think they're going through a rough patch right now, and I think they need to get through it like every football club does. Every football club goes through rough patches in the season. They started off the season pretty poorly. A lot of it has to do with the person that's in keeper. The keeper cannot catch the ball, and that's not Ten Hag's fault. But I think they're just going through a rough patch right now. Honestly, they've had a couple losses in a row. The morale's down, and they just need to bounce back. I think it's going to happen. So, based on his performances, I don't think that he should be fired or anything. But if he were to get fired, I think it would have a lot to do with the foreign takeover that's about to happen in Manchester.
Okay. All right, Oswald, go ahead.
With that potential foreign takeover, I still don't think they will fire him. He had a good season last year, winning their first trophies in how many 5 years or so, something like that.
Yeah.
They qualified for the Champions League, so they're probably going to give him some time. I think they'll give him some time. With this current management, or even the next management, if they get Manchester United over, he did an amazing job last season for the squad that he had last year. That team was garbage. This team is garbage. They just need to revamp that whole team. They need a fresh start, and I don't think he's gonna get fired just right away, unless this season they go on maybe like a 10-game losing streak or a 5 to 10 game losing streak. I don't think he's gonna get fired. I don't think he's gonna get fired unless they do something that bad.
Okay, Cliff.
Yeah, I don't think he is going to get fired. I don't think he should get fired. I think he's a really good coach. He's already shown what he can do last year with how they started poorly with the whole Ronaldo situation, and they still finished third in the league, and they had a chance to win 2 trophies, and they won 1 trophy. So I think he's proven himself that he at least needs a whole year, if he has another bad start. But even still, I think the last game that they played against Galatasaray really made a bad situation even worse. But I don't think it's because of Erik ten Hag. I think it's because of the players. Like Sam said, Onana really cost him the game. Like no matter how you want to spin it, because the mistake is the one that got Casemiro sent off, and then from there they went on to lose the game. So a lot of things are just kind of boiling down to bad luck. But I honestly think that they can turn around. And then you also have to count the injuries that they have. Like they had to start like Amrabat at left back. So you can still bounce back. It's not all over. It's not doom and gloom right now. They can still come back and possibly finish fifth this season. So I give them a chance.
I'm here playing my violin, man, because like I'm playing the violin to this soap opera that we're hearing right now. Because all I'm hearing is excuses. I'm sorry to tell you this, but Eric Ten Hag, he's a decent coach in terms of tactician. He's actually a very good tactician. I would give him props in that manner. I think once he gets players of the highest caliber, maybe he can possibly put some together. But as far as the other side of managing a football, which is ultimately being a great facilitator and man management, that brother cannot do that. He is not good at it. When you look at his history, most of the time he's coached a bunch of kids. He hasn't shown at this club since he got here with the Ronaldo situation, with De Gea leaving the club the way that he did, and now with the Jadon Sancho situation. I don't think he's shown enough emphasis as a good man manager. He's not able to handle superstars the way that he's supposed to. And you can see it all over the field, man. You got players like Marcus Rashford, body language is just terrible. Like you got side issues with Jadon Sancho where the coach is calling him out, the players calling him out. Like that's not being handled behind the scenes. Like all of that boils down to poor man management. And everybody in here wants to sit here and talk about Nana and this, but guess who brought in Onana? Eric Ten Hag. And a lot of people don't know this, but Eric Ten Hag actually has an agency that he's very familiar with that actually influences Manchester United's transfers. Since he's got there with the contract that he actually has an agency that he actually has a hand in that actually directly oversees some of the transfers that comes into Manchester United. That's why he's able to get in a lot of his Ajax players that he's brought in so far. And unfortunately, one of his signings is Onana. So he sat there, got rid of De Gea, a club legend, treated that man poorly, said we don't need you, brought in Onana that you guys are crying about, and we're not blaming the guy that brings him in, that continues to start him. Like that's my point. And then at the end of the day, all the distractions and all the side soap operas that we're getting, it has a dampening on the team. The Maguire situation, like I can name so many people on that team right now that probably don't even know what their everyday next day is going to look like. Because at the end of the day, I don't think the man management is up to par. They're not being straight up with the players. The players aren't getting the message from the coach, and it's not translating on the pitch. And I think if he was a better man manager and he actually was ready to actually coach superstars, maybe he would have a chance at staying in Manchester United long term. But I think what just happened with Jadon Sancho, I don't think this could go on forever any longer, honestly. I think if he doesn't have a great season this year and the new ownership comes into place, they're going to look to get a bigger name, somebody that they already know who's probably going to be on the market. I'm just earmarking this, but maybe a Carlo Ancelotti when he leaves Real Madrid. But like, there's going to be people on the market. Zidane is there as well that can handle superstars at a Manchester United level.
I'll say this. I don't think Ten Hag's been that bad at managing stars.
Okay.
I think
Lost
the way
the
he
biggest
handled
one.
the Ronaldo. I think the way he handled the Ronaldo situation was actually good. He actually handled that situation well. Ronaldo was crying and pouting like usual, and he handled it by putting him on the bench and stood his ground to a superstar, which is what you're supposed to do as a manager. You can't just let a player that's not performing continue to play.
He was
sat
their
him on the
best
bench,
player.
and then he wasn't though. He wasn't.
He was though.
And
he was though.
he wasn't though. He wasn't.
He
Because
was.
the reality is Manchester United finished in second place before Ronaldo got there. He came there, they finished in like seventh, and then he left, they finished in third again. So he wasn't the best player on their team.
He won their player of the year.
He was pretty in a year they finished seventh in the EPL.
He won their player of the year.
That's not saying much. But the thing is, I think he handled that situation well. I think the only situation he didn't handle well is De Gea. I think that was a terrible move and a terrible decision by Ten Hag. And Jadon Sancho is not a superstar. So I don't even know why he's a topic of conversation because he hasn't been good in 3 years.
Superstar. That's crazy.
What is he a superstar based off of?
$100 million signing and he's not a superstar.
Yeah, but he hasn't been a good player in 3 years. He's not a superstar.
I wonder why.
Because he's not good.
That's crazy.
Eric Ten Hag hasn't been the coach of Manchester United as long as Jadon Sancho has been there. He was still trash.
That's crazy, bro.
He was still trash.
I never see him go on social media, or I never seen old Gunnar Solskjaer go on social media talking about something. Yeah, I don't even see that happening. I don't even see that like happening for old Gunnar Solskjaer coming out and saying, "Yeah, my players are this and this and this." I just feel like how he managed that situation was just poor, because ultimately, you know the type of character that Jadon Sancho is, and they're both grown men. It's either you tell the guy he's not going to play for the rest of the year, or you feel me, you tell him leave the club, or you tell him straight up, man to man, you're not doing what I need to do, you're not doing what you need to do, we need to go our separate ways in this sense. At that point, do what you need to do. But when it comes to the public eye and you start talking to people at the press conference, you don't got to say nothing. It's not by force to even say your lineup before it's the actual day to the actual officials. He didn't have to come out there thinking he was going to trigger Jadon Sancho to be better, this or this. Bro, have that conversation with him and be done with it. Don't be flirting with him about him being around the starting 11, about him coming into the team. Like, just straight up be like, yeah, you're not doing what I need to do. Obviously, the frustration has gotten to this point, and that's it. That should have been done and dusted. But now you got players at the current moment begging Jadon Sancho to say sorry to Eric Ten Hag. It's not even about saying sorry to Man U anymore. It's about him. It's about Jadon Sancho versus Eric Ten Hag, and that doesn't make sense to me, bro. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think the Jadon Sancho thing is the reason why they're not performing well, though. Like,
it's
I
not
think
the only reason. It's not.
Yeah,
the
but
only reason.
I think that's a minuscule thing that people are pointing out just because they're losing. Just because they're on a rough streak, people are pointing out any kind of controversy and be like, "Oh, Jadon Sancho, Jadon Sancho is irrelevant to Manchester United's performances. He's not a starter. He barely comes off the bench, and when he does, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't matter. Jadon Sancho is irrelevant.
It speaks to the morale of the team. That's all I'm saying.
I think that Manchester United is just going through a rough patch. They played well last season. They played great last season. Actually, they won a title for the first time in 5 years. They won more titles than a club like Arsenal that everybody thought they were going to win the league last year. Arsenal ended up with less titles than Manchester United. So
Sevilla won the Europa League, the same amount of trophies as Barcelona, and where did they finish in the league? Basically dead last. So what are we talking about?
Who finished dead last?
I said basically dead last. Sevilla was trash last year, and they won the same amount of titles as Barcelona. So I don't want to hear that crusty analogy with it.
Yeah, they won more titles than Arsenal, though.
It doesn't matter, bro. The point is, you can't use a Carling Cup and say, "Oh, they had this and this." Like,
But they
please.
won a title, so you can't say that they weren't a good team last season. So what is the
And they
difference? 'Cause
finished
it's not
third.
Ten Hag.
They did okay. They did all
And they
right.
finished third.
They
They
did all
finished
right.
third. Like
They finished
the,
third. Right behind
the
y'all.
problem is not
They did
Ten
all
Hag
right.
because the problem is not Ten Hag because he had them playing at a great level last season. So you have to look at other factors that's going on. Like I think a big part of it is their keeper. I also think like they're not gelling well right now. I think there's, he added a couple players. I think, you have the Anthony situation as well. There's a lot going on.
A player he brought in.
Yeah. Okay.
But
that's
that's
not
a
his fault.
controversial situation. Yeah, that's a controversial
That's not
situation.
his fault that Anthony did what he did.
I didn't say it's his fault. I'm just saying it's a player that he brought in and continues to play. That's all I'm saying. He has not, outside of that controversy, he has not performed well at all. But he continues to start. That's on him. And I'm not even sitting here saying Jadon Sancho is the reason. Obviously, the guy's been ostracized from the rest of the team multiple times throughout the year. I'm simply saying that it adds to the morality of the overall team. He's at the end of the day, he's best friends with people on the team. And I know from just my personal experience, if I'm on the team and I'm not playing and I'm best mans with basically the most influential player on the team in Marcus Rashford or the best player on the team, I might be on the bench talking about some, yeah, bro, this coach sucks. That brother don't know what he's doing. Like, you see this guy making a mistake. Why are you picking this guy? It's like a talking person in your ear every single day. And that adds to the morale of the overall team. That's all I'm alluding to. There are multiple reasons why Manchester United are what they are now. You can say,
what if the player that's complaining is ass? What if the player that's complaining is lazy?
It doesn't matter.
And you see that player
clearly doesn't matter.
And he's coming late for practice and he's not putting as much effort, even though he's one
clearly
of the most talented players on the team. You're going to be like, yeah, the coach isn't perfect, right? Ten Hag isn't perfect. He could have handled that situation differently.
It clearly doesn't matter because, like, if you see Jadon Sancho, right, you guys are sitting here saying that he's ass, and that's great as a fan. But in between those players, they know the capability of how good Jadon Sancho could be.
Everybody knows the capability.
Okay, cool. And if I'm Jadon Sancho and I'm best man with Marcus Rashford, you think Marcus Rashford is sitting here saying Jadon Sancho is ass? What he's doing doesn't matter?
They can all see the kind of effort. They can see what Ten Hag is talking about behind the scenes. That's not coming out of nowhere. If he's saying that he's doing late for practice, he's not putting in effort, it's probably because he's not putting in effort.
That might have stopped them. That might have stopped Rashford from coming out publicly and talking about the situation. But at the end of the day, they're still guys, man. They still has an impression on him. And I'm not even saying it's that big of an impact. I'm just speaking more so to the general morale of the team. That still affects the morale of the team. I think that also plays with the how they translate that onto the pitch.
I think what affects the morale more is the actual results. Like if they're on a winning streak or if they're losing, they're gonna have bad morale. If they get back to winning, they're gonna have good morale. Like that's exactly what happened.
Can't win if the dressing room is in shambles, bro.
Well, who says the dressing room is in shambles?
It's in shambles, bro. At the beginning of the season, they stripped what's it called? They stripped Harry Maguire, basically tried to get him to be sold off. It didn't happen. You come back after preseason, right? You come back preseason. Now you have Marcus Rashford limping around, Jadon Sancho not coming to practice. Then you have a situation, but all of this is adding to it. Then you have a situation where you sell De Gea. Basically half the dressing room didn't like that. You sell De Gea, you bring
Who's saying that? Who's saying this?
It's in the stories, bro. It's in the news all over the place. They sell De Gea. Half the dressing room don't like how you did that. You bring in your guy Onana, who you basically say can do what I need him to do on the team. He's trash. Now half the team don't trust the goalkeeper, and that translates back to the coach. That's all I'm saying, bro. I'm not blaming everything at Ten Hag. I'm just simply saying, as an overall facilitator, I don't think he's done the best job. That's all I'm saying.
I think we're just making a lot of speculations and assumptions
Of
about
course.
the
But
situation that's going on
that's
in
what
Manchester
happens
United.
when you lose, man. That's what
Yeah,
happens. When you
whenever-
lose,
whenever
everything
a
else
team
becomes a bigger story.
Gotta be
Right.
happy
Whenever
to
a team
lose,
goes
man.
through a losing streak, then the dressing room is in shambles and everybody's fighting, and Rashford doesn't like
Yeah, and look
Anthony
at the
They
players
must
that
they
we're
must be
talking
happy
about.
losing the way they must be happy losing the way y'all talking. It's like
We're
they
talking
some
about
happy
players-
guys.
Nah, but they're
We're
going
talking about
through
players
a
that
rough.
have already
They're going through a
gone, that
rough
have already
patch.
left. We're talking about Ronaldo that's already gone, De Gea that's already gone, or like a Sancho that's some ass, or like a Maguire that's some ass, or like
Sancho is still
even
there
Anthony,
talking to
even
Rashford every day,
like,
bro.
come on, like we're talking about players of no consequence to the current
That's what you
Manchester United
think.
team.
That's what you think, but I know from experience. I know from experience, bro. I'm not gonna sit here and have my best man's down this joint. After every game, you're gonna be like, damn, bro. Yeah, I feel bad for you, bro. Yeah, I'm not on the team.
Nah, we
Did
thinking too much
look,
into
let
it.
me fit. Did y'all eat well? Did y'all eat well lunch today? What y'all do for the extra training?
Nah, we thinking too hard into it, and that's exactly what the media does, because they'll take a team like Manchester United. If they lose, let's say 3 games in a row, they'll think of, okay, what's going on in Man? Oh yeah, Greenwood, and then they'll spin a crazy story.
I didn't even say that too.
They'll be like, yeah, because Greenwood had this situation.
So many things.
That's why Manchester, like, we're just coming up with stories.
Right,
at this point.
yeah.
So many things, man.
Greenwood
and all of this stuff
for a whole year.
It's still a distraction. All I know is there's so
But he has
many
nothing
distractions.
to do with
it
the
doesn't
team.
matter. All I know is it's still a distraction. It's still a distraction. All I know is all I've seen Man U do this year has just been a whole movie of drama. Whether there's been more headlines about off the pitch than actually on the pitch. And even on the pitch, you got so many people on there. Should Bruno really be captain? Is Onana better than De Gea? Why did they get rid of him? So off of that, bro, I think we can all agree that Man U has a lot of fixing to do. So we're going to end it at that. That's cool. So I want to thank everybody for coming out, watching this video. Continue to subscribe, continue to support us, and let us know if you believe that Erik ten Hag is the right man moving forward for Manchester United. And with that, we're out. Thank you, guys.